Welcome back, everyone, to episode 4 of Tin Talk Pod. You guys thought that we were going to be done, that we burnt out, but we are back. 2023. We are here with Who Is Austin Mills. That's his Instagram handle, aka T-Bone, as Drew would say. I like to say D2's best kept secret. I know that's going to trigger some people out there. Newly minted sub 4 guy. I got to spend all weekend with him in Boston. Austin, welcome to the show. Congratulations on joining the Sub 4 Club. There's a tree somewhere planted for you thanks to Ben Blankenship.
Shout out.
How does it feel, man?
What's up? Been trying to get on here for like years, it seems like. I'm excited to finally be here, but man, feeling good. Like, came off a great race, and I'm just like kind of just riding the high from this weekend, and
For sure.
like just kind of stoked.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I like to kick off. I want to start kicking off this podcast series with this little segment called Showing Some Love. Just anything that you're eating right now, any supplements you're taking, any little plug. We don't have any official sponsors for this podcast yet. I know me personally, I've been using Fireflies on flights, been loving that as always. That's been kind of a game changer. We both use them on our travel to Boston. And if you don't know what it is, it's this little thing you put on your legs and it really promotes blood flow, especially for flights. Like, I used to feel like shit coming off flights, so that was a big one. I wanted to show some love to the very nice track club guys, specifically Morgan Beetlescum. I was like sitting by myself when I got to Boston. He was like, yo, come sit with me, man. And I thought that was really cool. So appreciated that big time. Really wanted him to join Tinman Elite, not going to lie. But
that would have been sick.
Stoked to see him running well. That transition can be really hard for a lot of guys. But before we jump into your transition, you got some love to show to something? Anyone?
Oh, so much. Like, like you said, I've been wearing like Fireflies. Like, that was huge on my trip to Boston. Like, I never used those in college, and those were great. Like, I love those things.
So Sub 4 has obviously been like a barrier that every runner wants to break. And you finally got to do it. Talk me through it.
Yeah, I mean, for the last few years, I've been wanting to do that. I think I've been in shape to do it before, but I just haven't really had the confidence. And so going into this season, I knew I was going to do it. And just, training with guys like Drew and you and Jermaine, like pretty much everyone on the team has broken 4, other than maybe 2 or 3 guys. So it's like, when you're doing workouts with guys like that, you kind of know that it's gonna come. It's gonna come. So yeah, I was stoked, but for me, I'm just more concerned with other stuff. Like, I like winning more than I do just like. But that was a great barrier, and I was super happy with that, and it was a fun night just to kind of relish that and finally get under. But yeah, it is cool to be a sub 4 miler. Like, like that's a lot of kids' dreams.
I mean, you forget about it just because it is something that like more and more high schoolers are doing it now. Like Boston, there was who knows how many that actually did it for the first time. And there's always those really cool experiences with it. Like, you're gonna get the tree now. That's a really cool add-on that Ben Blankenship is doing. And yeah, it's one of these things that it's probably going to be said at your funeral. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, not to be morbid, but it's like one of those things where it's like Austin Miller, like, he was a sub 4 miler, he did this and this and this, so that's a really cool thing that no one can ever take away from you now. And like, no matter what happens from here on out, that's something you say that you're in the 1% of people that have ever done it, and that's a really special thing. So take me back to the early beginnings of your sport. I know that I found out today when we were running that you were actually a D2 walk-on, not just a D2 runner, but a D2 walk-on, and that you played soccer all the way until your senior year. I feel like you hear it a lot in the sport with guys like, I know myself, like, I played soccer for quite some time and I swam, but not my senior year of high school, like, I'm not still doing that. Like, I think Grant Fisher played it until his like sophomore year. I know Craig Ingalls kept playing until his sophomore year, but you really didn't figure out running until you were 17, 18 years old?
Yeah, I'd be like 18, but yeah, I mean, I have a pretty weird story. Like, I was telling Sam on the run this morning, but yeah, I played soccer pretty much my whole childhood. And I really wanted to do that like collegiately. I always knew I wanted to be kind of like a college athlete, and everyone wants to be a pro athlete when they're little, and I for sure had that, and sports were always a big part of my life. But I was going through college and I could never really break through. Couldn't get any offers anywhere, so I had a bunch of friends.
In soccer, you couldn't get any offers.
I couldn't get any offers in soccer. And partially that's just because like the Midwest isn't great for that, but so like some of my soccer teammates like also ran track in the spring. That's how they kind of stayed fit, and they were pretty good. One of my good friends played soccer, and then he ended up going to Augustana, where I ended up going to college, and he kind of convinced me to go out for track, or at least just we were bouncing ideas off each other, and I did that. Hated it. I was pretty terrible. I remember going for like my first 4-mile run, and I thought I was gonna die, but I just kept working, and I fell in love with just like the team element of it. Like we all were really close in high school, and we all hung out together and hung out after school and did stuff together like that wasn't related to running, and I just kind of wanted to keep it going. So I ended up talking to the coach at Augustana, because my high school head coach had ran with him in college, so they knew each other pretty well. And he basically just convinced him that I was, I had a lot of potential, and they ended up letting me walk on. So I walked on to the team and was basically running like 400s and 600s and training with like the long sprint crew.
Yeah.
And doing like these crazy lifts and stuff, and I felt super out of place.
The lifts I did in college compared to like what I do now is like so funny. Like college lifting is so intense because like half the time it's like the football or basketball coach that's like riding the lifts for you, like doing like crazy like deadlift like cleans and shit.
I was doing
it's
cleans
like,
and stuff.
I don't touch that stuff now. I'm doing like body weight lunges and like that's about it,
Yeah, so like I knew pretty early on, like I was looking at myself against all these other track guys, and then I saw the cross team. I was like, man, like that just seems like more my crowd. And like all my friends were on that team, so I ended up walking onto the cross country team my second year of college, and the rest is kind of history. Like I just kept getting better every year, and I just kept finding more people to look up to, and chasing those guys, and once I caught them, I would chase the next guy, and like that was like a good process for me to be in for most of college, and then finally, I don't know if you want to talk about anything else, but
yeah, I mean, I just wanted to know like when, like at what point, like during that college career, so like you came in knowing probably fuck all about running or what college running meant,
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like when did you really start following the sport? Like when did you first be exposed to like professional running and what that looked like? And, like when were you like in tune with what was going on past just your little D2 world at the time?
It was definitely when I kind of started hanging out with the cross country guys. Like those guys, as you know, they just get so invested in like what pros are doing, like fast times coming out of high school, out of college. And I just kind of like, I basically dropped everything and I just got fully absorbed in running. And I think when it finally started to hit me that I, could possibly go pro was probably my 5th year.
Mm-hmm.
And like before then I was just a huge fan. I was following Tinman and like Bowerman and Oregon. Like I was just a fan of all these teams and a fan of just like greatness.
Mm-hmm.
And I never really thought that I could do that until I started just getting like to the point like performance wise where it was like, oh, maybe like if I keep continuing to get better and better every year, maybe that's going to be an option for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I just wasn't competitive enough until my like senior year. And I didn't have the confidence, or like I didn't get to go to, like my coach didn't take me to great races or anything like that. And it's just such a, like as a D2 athlete, like so many things kind of have to go your way to like actually believe you can do that. So for me, it was just like it was like a long process.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I can't imagine. Do you remember, like, I'm so curious now, like, do you remember what your first, like, exposure was to Tinman Elite, or like a race or a video that you saw? Like, what was the first thing you saw?
Oh man, I mean, I was there since the beginning. Like, I I just remember you, Drew, and Reed, just like the very origins of it. I remember you guys like made a T-shirt, and me and my friends, I can't remember how much it cost, but it was like $18 or something.
Yeah,
Like
I think
$15 with shipping or
yeah,
something like
yeah,
that.
I think it was like $18 per shirt because I remember telling myself like I really want to have this like under $20.
Yeah.
So like anybody that's even like
Yeah.
considering buying it is like, okay, well,
That's what happened
this is
to
the
me. Yeah.
cheapest shirt I can buy. So
Yeah, one of them, I was just like, I didn't buy the black one, but the white one finally got like restocked or something.
yeah.
And I remember my friend Henry and I, like, we were sitting on the couch and we both like ordered one.
Oh, that's awesome.
And like we both still have them to this day. But like that was my first, like, I think that was the first ever pro shirt I bought, like,
Yeah.
of supporting a group. So
Oh, that's super cool.
I always had like just kind of this like link with you guys, and
For sure.
um,
Yeah, Joey had a very similar story
Yeah.
also where like I'll never forget, like it was one of the first times because Joey's origin story is funny because he kind of showed up and started training in Boulder with Henry, like not being officially on the team, you know? Like we told you were on the team basically like the minute you showed up here. Like we saw all the talent in the world that you were going to have, and you're starting to show like you took 6 months off of racing and you ran, 403 back at home and then 357, and I have no doubt that you're going to continue that progression into the year. And by the time USA's rolls around in July, I think there's no doubt that you can make that final and be like a name within the American, mid-distance world like very quickly. As long as you continue to work on those tactics and everything that coach ripped you on after Boston this time. But Joey wore like the black OG Tinman shirt like to practice. And I remember being like, how did you get that? Like, I didn't give you that, And he kind of like beat it around the bush for a little bit, and then he was like, "Yeah, man, like I bought this in the first drop, man. Like it's kind of the same thing you were saying. It's like it's pretty damn cool to see people that really were there at the start and then now are a part of the team and part of the Tin Man family here. So that's really special. And he actually, like, when we were hopping the fence on like the soccer fields, when we used to sneak on the soccer fields right now here to work out, he actually like ripped the shirt.
Oh no!
And like he was so upset over it. And like I'm pretty sure that we came like directly down here afterwards, to, like try to dig him up an old one, and we couldn't find one. So I think maybe we'll have to do like a 5-year anniversary, like OG unbranded, like black and gold, like just the cheapest cotton tees we could buy just to get something out.
No, I'm never gonna get rid of that thing. That thing means a lot to me.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I can't get rid of mine either. No matter how shrunk and disheveled.
Oh, my thing is like
now.
It's like disheveled. It's got like pit stains and it's
yeah.
Like,
well, you get what you paid for.
And
So our shirts are much nicer now. They might be a little more expensive, but they're gonna last you forever now. So tell me more about this Boston weekend. Like, it was obviously a huge weekend for both of us. Like we both broke some big barriers. Like for me personally, it was a huge weekend to break through that 1320 wall. That was much harder than the sub 4 wall for me personally. Like that was something I was battling really up since the Peyton Jordan race, which was our OG YouTube video where we all ran 1324 and qualified for that World Championships. Like even later that summer, I remember thinking like, oh, I'm gonna just break 13 later this summer, and then I would tank, go for it, go out in 750, these crazy 3K splits, and then just, red line and die, but this is your first big pro experience where it was kind of funny where I don't realize now that I've been on the circuit now for so many years that you kind of know everyone and you see the same faces in your events. This was your first time really being around, like we were on guys a lot, we saw the NAU crew. What was it like? And after the race, we got beers with a whole bunch of people. Like, just tell me about like what it was like being around these people. I like kept forgetting that I needed to like introduce you to everyone,
Yeah.
But I hope I did a good job.
No, you did. Yeah. Like it is cool. If you would have told me like a few years ago that I was going to be hanging out with these people and just like
you'd be drinking a beer with the American record holder after his race.
Like Woody. Yeah. It's like. No, it is pretty surreal, but like I'm starting to pick up pretty quickly that a lot of us are really similar and we're all kind of pursuing the same type of thing, and we're all going under the same stresses and pressures every day, and injury type stuff, and everyone's doing the same shit. Like and that is kind of comforting. Like, and so
I don't know, some of these NAU workouts, I don't know if we're all doing the same stuff, but
I ain't doing that. I would be injured, but
yeah, right.
no, it's like, it's great, man. Like, I think it's gonna take me a while to get used to it, but I really like just being around them and getting to know them. Hanging out with like Mike Foppin was great, and the On guys.
It was so funny to be around Mike because like this was also his like first time in the U.S. at at a race, and all of a sudden like he's only been to like diamond leagues and small European races, and all of a sudden he's at BU where there's like 100 fucking sections of miles and all these college kids from all over the place running around. It seems like total anarchy compared to the stuff he's had, where it's like you show up to like like London Diamond League or Paris or wherever, and it's like, you know exactly where you're going. You sit in the call room for 30 minutes and you come out into this stadium. And it's like here, it's like he missed check-in. Like, I don't know. Do you remember him telling us that?
He literally, we were supposed to check in, and then like later we were supposed to get our hip numbers, and he completely forgot to check in. Yeah. So he gets there like 5 minutes before the race. They're like, dude, you didn't check in. Like, we don't have numbers for you. Yeah. And he's like, I just flew 20 hours from South Africa. Like, I'm gonna race. And like,
can you imagine that like stress, like that heart, like that heart like jump that he would have been fine at the end of the day. He could have just stayed the next week, and probably someone else, like the Bowerman guys, are gonna get revenge and ball out or whatever. But it's still, cannot imagine that stress.
But it was great to hang out with him. Like, he's like obviously more centralized in Europe, so he has all like the scoops on the drama, which is just cool fun, we all gossip and do all that stuff, and like it's just funny to hear about different people, but it was great. So
what's been changing gears here a little bit, like what's been kind of the hardest thing for you kind of moving to Boulder, new training group? I know that's such a very hard thing, and like I'll go back here for a second for myself for showing some love here. I like Morgan Beetlescombe, for example, like he just switched up from his training group. I know he's in the same place, but he's with Very Nice Track Club now. He's been racing great right off the bat, and so have you. And I think that's not as common as you'd think. Like, it's different for when someone like Cooper Tier, for example, last year, and Cole, they just stay with the same college coach, because they know that works and they were already at a pro level. It's a whole nother thing to all of a sudden jump into a whole new system in a whole new place, especially for you. Altitude, is a whole new thing. Like, talk to me about, I know you're running 70 miles a week pretty consistently now. I'm running like right around there,
60 to 65, and then if I'm not racing, like a little more than that. But
so what were the hardest transitions? Like what are the stuff that like you didn't expect would be so hard, that were so hard about this professional transition?
Yeah, I mean,
because you surely got thrown to the wolves in terms of like, we were all doing kind of like Reed's marathon build up together this summer.
No, when I first got here, it was pretty brutal. Like, altitude is tough. Like, a lot of people say it takes like a year and a half just to kind of get acclimated and be able to just do workouts like at the same level you do workouts at sea level. So workouts were really challenging. I was like going all out at some of these workouts early on. I was like, shit, man, I don't know if I'm gonna survive. Like,
man, I did the same thing though. Like, when I first showed up here, I was like swimming in these workouts with like Morgan Pearson and like Reed and these guys that were like really fit, already. And I had taken kind of the same thing that you did, where I just like took a lot of time off, afterwards. Like, you had your injury, and like, it's almost the type of thing where it's like you almost have to throw yourself to the sharks and like hope that you come out the other side the way you wanted to. And it's a risk because it is a high chance of injury and stuff, but it's like, this is pro sports we're talking here. Like, this is a cutthroat business. There's not a lot of money in it. You got to perform right away, and you got to keep performing, because it's a what have you done for me lately type of atmosphere. So respect for going into it head first and not just being like, oh no, I'm done today. Being like, no, I am going to go out in 5-minute pace in this tempo, knowing I'm not running threshold pace today.
Yeah, I remember a couple workouts like where Reed was super fit. And I was like trying to hang on with him, and I was like, just so I wouldn't be by myself like in these workouts. And it turned from threshold to like lactic.
Max.
Like, I was just like dying on some of these trainings. So that was really tough. I mean,
it was funny for me as an outsider because like I was in Europe the whole time, And like, I had met you on your visit.
Yeah.
We got to spend some good time together then. But all I'm hearing is like, yeah, man, like I don't know about Austin. Like he can't really like do like this 3-mile tempo run or whatever, know.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm like, oh man, is this gonna be like a long ordeal, to get you running well, because that happens with a ton of people, where it takes a full year to get your swagger back after running, being at the top of your game, because you were runner up right in the 1500 behind Christian or
well, Callum Elson.
Okay, yeah.
Shout out the Distance Project. My boy Callum.
Yeah, so kudos to that. If you could go back and do it all over again, with like the college scene, and like let's say you're the runner you are right now and you had to go back to a D1 program or a D2 program, you can go back to Augustana if you want. But let's say hypothetically, where are you going? Why?
Oh man, I mean, yeah, going back, like, yeah, I wish I would have ran in high school and stuff, but like, I think I am who I am now because of what I did and like how I went through the sport. It was just always about progress for me and every year getting better. And like, I honestly don't know if I would change anything. Like, if I was a D1 guy, maybe I would have burnt out. Like, maybe I would have run a little faster. But like,
there's definitely an underbelly to D1 that people don't see, where it's like, yeah, you might see like all the amazing runners on NAU and how fast they run, but there's a whole flock of guys there that were also state champions that don't make it to their 5th year. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's their path in life, but there is a huge aspect to the underbelly of it that you don't see, because you only see, unless you're on the team and see it, you only see the good stuff.
Yeah, and for me, it was like D2 was great for me, and like my program was great for me because my coach just kind of like, every year we would just bump up a little bit. Like, it wasn't just like, all right, you're at this level now, like let's crank it up to 90 miles a week. Let's have you doing this stuff. Let's try to win a national title. It was like, okay, let's recess. Let's like get a little bit better. But every year it wasn't anything crazy. And I think that consistency and that like drive to just improve every year is why I am here. Like, I think honestly, like, I'm feeling really good about where I'm at because like I just feel like I still have a lot of potential, and I haven't gone to the well like a lot of these D1 guys do early on, and I haven't pushed myself in training like that yet, which,
I mean, that was definitely one of the biggest things that was exciting about bringing you onto the team, was because we're like, okay, like, yeah, sure, maybe we could bring on a 355 guy, but is that his best, like what, is he going to get maybe a second or two faster? Whereas like for you, there's definitely this huge appeal of being like, this guy could be a 350 guy, because of how underdeveloped he was before, like all of a sudden if he does start doing tempo work, because like when we first were reading your workouts and what you did with those workouts, we're like, holy shit, wait till this guy learns what threshold is. Like it's one of these things that it's really exciting there for sure. I really teed you up for that question to say UW, like those guys just ran 8 guys that just ran sub 4. Like
Andy Powell, he'd be pretty fun to work under, like,
yeah, Andy Powell's a man.
There's certain coaches where like, yeah, it'd be fun to just like learn from them, and he's one of those guys. Like Prakel's killing it. Like, dude just ran 13:18 and probably gonna run.
Prakel is like the quietest, best runner ever.
Yeah,
like
we were talking about this,
his PRs are like insane. Like yes, he finalist, World Indoors, like 350 mile. Like people forget how good Sam Prakel is, and dude's always in the top 5. He's always there. Like the amount of times he's been like in position to make a team with like 200, 300 go. I think he has the best stats over the past like 4 years.
He's run 336 like a million times. Yeah. Like he's always there. I think he's going to be a force to be reckoned with for sure this year. I think he's got something to prove. So
yeah, those UW guys definitely have a luxury that a lot of people don't have when it comes to, they got to wake up in their own bed that morning, get paced by a 350 miler, and then all
like
rip
what,
it.
like 1400 or something like that. It was like,
yeah, man. But respect to those guys, they got it done, like you can talk all day about like, oh, BU's track, UW's track is long, like all this stuff. At the end of the day, your legs are still moving around that track one way or another, and there's no hiding. I can say that firsthand experience from my Boston race last year when I made it through 3K and 8 flat. absolutely redlining, like dropped out of the race, heart rate was probably like 190, just completely cashed out, just stunned, like disbelief. And it's crazy thinking back at that experience and how low I was in that moment and how everything just like changed completely for me for the rest of the year after that. What has been your kind of lowest moment, you'd say, in your career so far? I mean, has there been a moment where you've kind of like looked into the darkness and been like, I don't know if I can do this? Or
I've been pretty fortunate. I think another benefit of being in the program I was in is like I stayed healthy pretty much my entire college experience. Like there's a few times where I got injured for a couple months, but it was never anything that was like gonna change like the sport for me. Like I never really just got into a dark place, and like I know a lot of my teammates and stuff, they got into these places that they just couldn't claw back out of because they were so injured and so just away from the sport and stuff.
I came in my freshman year of college with 5 guys, and we all assumed we were going to be captains leading the team, All-Americans by our 5th year, and I was the only one to make it to the 5th year on the same team, like Craig transferred, like, and just life happens, getting through 5 years of college is so damn hard, and anyone that can even just do that, no matter what level they ended up running in compared to what they did in high school, is like truly an accomplishment. And I hope any college kid out there that's listening to this right now that is struggling or anything to that degree, like you got to hold your head up high, like no matter where you're at, and like understand like how hard it is to like keep your head down and keep going like through all like the shit that gets thrown at you with like college, like period. Yeah,
I mean, I certainly had times where it was like I would have these injuries that would last a while, and I just was like seeing all these physical therapists and getting all this work done, and I just couldn't figure it out. But like I think just really figuring out your body and how you like how it works was really important for me, and just learning about myself and trying to do what I could to stay healthy when I was healthy and doing all the preventatives. And
you said it to me earlier this year actually, and I remember thinking like that's a really great quality that's going to take this kid far, is you said when you had your like plantar problem, when you like first showed up here, that was another thing I was like freaked out about, because you don't want to show up to like whether it's high school first day of camp or wherever injured, that's the worst feeling in the world, maybe worse than getting injured before like the big race, but you said you kind of just like figured it out yourself. You kind of like got online, did a ton of research, and like figured it out yourself. Yeah. And I definitely think that's like one of your best qualities, is like you're not afraid to, strap up your boots yourself and figure it out, and that's going to take you far, because probably what you experienced this weekend in Boston too, like professional running world, like you're not getting your hand held anywhere near as much as what you do in college or what you think. Like you went to the race by yourself, like we didn't have coach fly out for this weekend. Like there's not like the finances that like you think where we can just fly coach to every race we want to. Like sponsors out there, hit us up. Yeah, it's like one of those things where I think that like you being able to like take ownership of the stuff yourself. Like when I first started running in these races professionally, I basically just followed Drew around like a little puppy dog, and Drew was the 18-year-old, like I just basically was like, oh, you're going to Milrose, like I guess I'll do that too, and it's amazing that that's what you get to do this coming up weekend with us. But tell me about the next few steps of this season coming up.
I'm going to Milrose next weekend for the like invite mile, which I'm super stoked about. It should be a really good field assembled for that. I think last year it was 3:57 for the win. I think this year's just faster, so I think it's going to be a fast race. I'm just ready to go, kind of like light it up. And I got that time out of the way last weekend, and I think that was just this big kind of like barrier for me, just like knowing I can run really fast. And I think now it's just like I just love racing. I love winning, and I think I'm just going to show up to this race and just try to compete. And then afterwards, I'm helping this guy out. I'm pacing like 600 meters or something of the the 3K, and I'm going through
600. That's all you got. Come on.
I think so. 600, 800. I don't know what I'm running 30s, I think. So it's like, it's going to be fast, but it'll be fun to just like show up on the start line with, you and Kerr and Beamish and
bunch of killers,
a bunch of absolute animals. And hopefully I'm there next year, like in a race like that. But yeah, I'm stoked. I think it's going to be a great weekend. I've never been to New York, so I'm going to just kind of vibe. And
yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was funny. It was funny when we were in Boston together. Like I've had my fair share of races in Boston so far, and Austin's like, dude, we should go to like an art museum, or like we should go do something and like see this town.
Like
and I'm just like in my hotel bed. I'm like, dude, like my toe is bruised. I don't know if I can race. Like I'm not leaving this hotel room, bro.
Yep.
Like you want to watch Lord of the Rings, or that's pretty much all I'm doing this weekend. I guess we ended up watching The Sopranos, but you know what I mean. Yeah.
So Austin, what's something that, I mean, you spent the whole weekend with Sam in the hotel room and everything, and you probably haven't had that much exposure to Sam ever, so what's something that you learned about him this weekend?
Oh no, this guy, he's a good roommate. I didn't know what to expect. He was like, we shut the lights off when we needed to go to bed. He wasn't on his phone. We were waking up at the same time. He did take one absolutely disgusting shit one day.
It was after the race, right?
Yeah.
It was after the race.
Like,
it was just Shake Shack, beer, waiting around for Yard and Woody to get their drug test done. Just really got my blood boiling, I guess.
But other than that, it was great. Like, no complaints. Definitely would room with him again. So.
Yeah. So we are, as we're sitting here right now, we have the Tinman Elite archive wall, or sale wall, if you will. These are all our leftover shoes we have. We have some Supernovas, some Bostons. We have a very sporadic sizing for like Audios Pro 2s left over, and we have the Tinman Elite Essentials collection. I don't have anything around me right now, but it's our camo singlets. We have like an OG hoodie on the website right now. This stuff really keeps us going throughout the season. Like these product sales go directly back into paying for, our flights, our physios, anything that can keep us going in this sport. It pays our bills quite literally. So any little bit of support goes quite a long way for Austin, for myself, and for continuing to, do these type of productions like we're doing today. So yeah, thank you guys so much, and Go try out some 2 maybe. I don't know. Maybe that stuff's pretty good. Some good juice. I took it before my workout. Some good stuff.
I love it. But yeah, I mean, I train in Supernovas. I wear Bostons for long runs. Like, they're great shoes, and they look cool too. So
mainly just wear Bostons when he feels really shitty.
Yeah.
Like
no,
today.
Straight up like today. I feel like Garbo. Throw on the Bostons, you're fine.
All right, dude. Milrose, let's run it back. Sorry, Drew, loser. I wanted to ask you, and I'm basically opening the door for you to be really cocky here.
Oh, wonderful.
Shouldn't be any problem, right? Let's just say hypothetically, we're doing this podcast again, 5 years from now, and it's, hopefully, let's say 10 years from now. You're still a young lad. It's an exit interview, and I do your introduction again. I'm saying, welcome to the podcast, Austin Miller. And I said today, newly minted sub 4 guy. What else am I going to say the next time?
Shit. I think, I think I'm going to be fast, man. Like, I think I'm going to be really good. And I think the more I'm around these people and these other really high caliber athletes,
it's infectious, isn't it?
The more I just am like, I can do that. Like, we're all in Boulder. We're all doing the same stuff for the most part. And you see Joe out there running 12:54. You see Ollie running 3:30.
It does feel like we're in like a renaissance of just raising the bar, And
I think our team is in a really good spot. Like, I think to pursue stuff like that, you have to be healthy and you have to have like really good team energy. And I think we have that, and I think in the future we're going to bring in more good guys that are going to have that. And like, I genuinely think like I'm going to be a U.S. champion. Like, I want to be competing at Diamond Leagues. I want to be, vying for U.S. teams every year and doing all that sort of thing. And I don't know what events I'm going to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think the 1500 is going to be, for a couple of years, definitely like my marquee event. And I think I still have a lot to learn in that event, just both with like international racing and just competing for spots and running fast. Like, I haven't run that fast, and
Mm-hmm.
I think I have a lot to learn, but like that's all I see for myself is just greatness. Like, I think I have no reason not to believe in myself to do stuff like that. And that's why I went pro. Like, I remember seeing, I think it was Dylan Maggard, like he had some post where he's like, I didn't go pro to, just run fast. Like, he wants to make US teams and like represent your country. And like, it's always been super fascinating to me just to go do that. And all the greats, they run for their country, and that's something I want to do for my family and all that stuff. So
yeah, for sure. Awesome, man. You mentioned Maggard. What are other guys that, like, whether they're an NCAA right now or, other pros that you feel like you really kind of like gauge off of? I guess this is a two-part question. Like, who are guys that you really like gauge off of to be like, all right, if he's doing that, I want to be doing that. Like, I've always, I don't know if it's because we were just roommates those years, and I'm looking forward to diving into it with him in the next podcast episode with Klecker. Like, I'm constantly looking at Klecker. You know what I mean? Like, gauging off of him, being like, damn, he just ran 13 flat, damn, and like he just ran 12:53, like, all right, like he just took Grant to, he took Grant's money, like, it's like, like I'm constantly looking at him and being like, all right, like I want to keep chasing him, like who's a guy that you're like, okay, I want to, you're like gauging yourself off,
I think for me, it's like I have been looking at like 1500 guys, so I've always looked up to guys like Centro and guys who just want to win, like right, like it, like Collector's a little different because you can kind of see what he's doing, and we're a lot more active. I didn't have that luxury with guys like Centro, but other guys, I mean, I like
Oregon Project, man. Those curtains were up and they stayed up until the end of the time.
like I think Drew was a big, like, training with Drew is crazy. Like, I train with Drew Hunter every day. Like, that's wild.
Yeah, there's that great picture of you two. You know, what was it at Drake or was it at USA's?
Yeah, that was like, I think I met him at Drake Relays after I had just run like 152 or some shit, and I thought I was like, like about to do something crazy, and I saw him run the mile. I think he lost. I think he's second. And me and my friend got a picture with him. And like Drew and I are the same age, which like is crazy. But I looked up to him.
People forget that, right?
Yeah.
It's like crazy that like people can like, it's so easy just with like Drew's injuries and shit, just to like write him off and be like, oh, like, like, yeah, he didn't pan out. It's like, bro, this dude's just starting. Like this dude made a 5K team like 3 years ago, like, yeah, he's gone through a lot of shit, like any kid that's handed like the keys to a castle like he was when you're 18, it's like a lot to deal with, like a lot of luxury that comes with that, but of course like there's a lot of adversity you have to go through. So I loved seeing that picture of you too. Being like, dang. Funny. And I experienced that so much at Boston actually this past weekend in a different way where like I saw, this goes back to question number one, like showing some love. Like there's a lot of love that a lot of people showed us this weekend at Boston, like college kids and stuff that kind of were saying like, dude, like, man, I've been following you guys since I was in high school or, something like this. And now they're running in college, you know what I mean? And now they're like legit D1 runners, like still chasing the dream. And it's like, man, that's so fulfilling, for me. And to see that, I remember when like we did your announcement, and I forget if it was like Joey or someone found that picture, and then we all ended up posting it just because it was like such a great full circle thing. And it like shows people that like, hey, it is awesome to support professionals, it's awesome to like be vulnerable enough to like take a picture, because you never know how freaking sick that picture might be one day, where you're sitting here now doing workouts with him, taking Drew to the well in 200s, like yesterday.
Yeah, it's like, it's crazy. Like, so I for sure looked up to him and like, he's finally healthy and like he knows what he's doing. Like he's been doing it for a long time. And,
Wait, he's a vet. He's
yeah.
he's the only 25-year-old veteran in
Yeah.
in the sport of running right now.
So I take a lot of just like
25, right?
yeah, 25.
Yeah.
Yeah, he like if I see him lifting, I want to lift. If I see him, doing these doubles and stuff, I want to do that. Like he eats well, I want to do that. Just the way he approaches training and stuff is great, and so he's a great training partner for me. And I think just having someone that you like have looked up to and someone who you're like chasing that's a great place to be in from like a training group point of view. But who else? I don't know. Like Andy Weeding was someone I looked up to a lot. I saw a lot of myself in him, and I think like I didn't find him until after I started running, like because he was kind of before my time. But I was like, you just get into the well and you just find these guys. And
my favorite Andy Weeding race is like the one with like him and
Centro.
No, I don't think Centro was there. It was him and Ryan Gregson.
Oh.
And it was like in Australia or some like Diamond League.
Yeah.
I'm butchering this now, but like they both ran like sub 330 something, like low, like very low, like before running when like no one was running sub 335, and that just kind of like put both of those guys, like they put like the professional running world like on notice after that race.
And like he's just a tall white guy, it's like I think that's so funny, and like I'm gonna be looking kind of funny on some of these start lines, I think too,
especially once you get to the Diamond League and you realize like how short some of like the Kenyans that you run against, like when I show up, like even at Worlds this past year, like Jakob and I like tower and like Matthew Ramsden and stuff, like we tower over some of these guys, and you don't even realize it, where it's like, we're like 6'1", 6'2", but these guys are like 5'8", and you never would expect it because on TV and when they're all running together, you don't realize it, but pretty funny. Is there any guys kind of in like college right now that you're like, okay, if I could recruit and train with that guy, that would be best case scenario?
Man, are we just gonna talk about like? I think I think like those UW guys. Like I think
those guys are gamers, man.
The guy Brian Fay, dude, is insane.
Yeah, dude, that's what I was gonna say too.
Brian Fay is so versatile. Yeah.
I mean, we were saying they're doing the DMR, right?
Yeah.
Like they're going after the DMR record at Boston. What are the splits for that again?
Well, I think Oregon. I think it was like Hawker.
That's Colin Cooper's record.
Yeah, 250 to 47 to 147. Charlie Hunter, I think, and then like 354. Some bonkers like.
Yeah, it's a team. Basically, that Oregon team was a team of like professionals.
Like nine,
they all could have signed a contract like months before running that race, and those UW boys are kind of in that same situation now. Where it's like you got like Wascom and Faye and those guys that are all like, you have Sam Ellis. I don't know if Sam Ellis has indoor eligibility.
Not indoor. He's got outdoor, but he's a stud too. I mean, I think like I'd love to train some of the Stanford guys. Like I think Hicks and Sprout and those guys are great. But I don't know. Like those college kids, like they're so good.
Yeah, man.
Like a lot of them are on a different level than me right now. Like I still got some work to do, and it's gonna be fun outdoors when I finally get to go against some of those guys. I don't know if I'll get to do it indoors, but
yeah, no, I think I said it in an earlier podcast or something, but it's like you never want to lose to a college kid, but as long as you don't lose to the college kid like in July and August, like that's like if there's so like all of a sudden like there was I'm blanking on his name. Stanford guy, best runner that's up there right now.
Hicks?
No. He won the BU 5K.
Oh, Kai.
Yeah, Kai.
Yeah,
Kai Robinson. Like he was doing it all summer. Like he was at World's 5K and like he should have been in the final also. And it's like, sheesh. Like if he's doing that already, like and doing a full college season, like that is damn impressive,
Yeah, it's like
it's one thing to be ready in like May, for like a college kid, because you got to be full go, but for us it's like May. It's like that's just when we got to get started, and then be our best then in July and August for championships.
I think that's going to be a transition too for me. It's like I think I'm doing well so far at just like trying to look at the season like as like a summer season and not put too much like emphasis on these indoor races and like, yeah, I'd love to go 3:53 right now, but it's like I don't need to do that. Like I need to continue training, continue getting better so that I can run sub 3:35 and be in the US final and like race all summer and do that stuff. I think that's way more important just to get used to a full pro season than to just race fast. And I think I'm pretty proud of myself so far with just how like level-headed I've been about everything and not getting super focused about these like little races and maybe if I don't race well or like stuff like that. I think I just got to get used to the pro season, and I think a lot of people don't realize that it's like completely different. Like in college, you're doing fall, you're doing cross, then you got to do indoor and qualify for indoors, and then you got to go to outdoors, qualify for outdoors, go to USA's, and now it's like it's just way different. And I think I knew that coming in. Like everyone was kind of telling me like this summer, like I think you were telling me early on, like you got to be good in the summer, man. Like that's my advice to you. And I was like, all right, like that's what I'm gonna do then. So.
Yeah, it's dangerous, right? Because you can like go out there and do like Raleigh Relay, Stanford Invite, and go on to go like try and go rip those races, and it's like, yeah, that's great, but is it better than to kind of continue to build like your threshold base and stuff? And it's like, I definitely think that was like, you saw a ton of guys, and like I have to put my money where my mouth is right now, because like there's a ton of guys that ran really great 5Ks indoors or early in the season last year. But then, and on the start list when you're looking at Europeans and worlds and stuff, and it's like, how am I going to beat all these 13-0 guys, But then they weren't ready then, because their bodies weren't 100%, whatever it might have been, they weren't ready on that day. And it really is a type of thing where it's like it's easy to get caught up in just like those early season races, because that's what I did, my first few years professionally. Like I didn't even think like summer. It's like kind of I thought of this as this kind of this like luxury season that could be there if things are still going well and I'm healthy, And you realize quickly like the guys that are really the pros. I don't know if you want to call it that, whatever, but it's like. They're the ones going deep into the summer, like their season does not end. Like it's not USA's and then let's go see if we can run some PRs, or whatever. It's like, no. It's like you go and you're competing against the best runners in the world at Diamond Leagues and, really showcasing that you're, in a whole nother tax bracket, Yeah. Maybe not actually in a new tax bracket, but for our sake, but you know what I'm saying. You got anything else for me? I think we covered just about everything.
Yeah, I think we're good, man.
Awesome. All right, Austin. Well, I really appreciate it. Looking forward to getting you back on the pod and giving you that long and amazing introduction that I know you're going to have to work your ass off for. But I'm glad that we got you saying it now so that maybe we can just roll that clip,
Clip it.
We can clip it, and then 4 or 5 years later, and maybe when you do cross that finish line with your arms up, winning that U.S. title, that'll be a great moment, just like it was to look back at that picture with you and Drew, continuing to climb the ladder and step the stones and continue on in the right direction. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you guys are still listening, you guys are real ones. Thank you so much, and can't wait to have you guys back listening with Flecker and I next week. Thank you guys so much.